Hello and welcome guys. A very good evening to all of you. My name is KP Singh and I welcome one and all to the 27th episode of Weekly Law Scoop. Welcome Arya, welcome Sashank. Kindly inform your batchmates and other people in the group to join quickly so that we can start. Okay guys. Can somebody please confirm if the audio is fine and all of you can see the presentation? Welcome Shaurya. Loud and clear. Thank you so much. Okay guys, so I'm Chief Mentor with IMS Learning Resources. I did my law from National Law School Punjab and Masters from Law School Kolkata with specialization in the area of international law. Currently I'm pursuing a PhD and mentoring kids to fulfill their law school dream. In order to select the best quality for these videos, click on the settings tab on the bottom right corner of your screen, click the best option available and you would be good to go. If you want to experience superior CLAT preparation, I suggest all of you to go to imsindia.com and enroll for a zero-free program if you are not already part of the IMS ecosystem. You can also book a one-to-one counseling session with one of our mentors and get your queries and doubts resolved. The first news item that I want to discuss today is Ketanji Brown Jackson finally destined to become the first woman of color as the Supreme Court judge in US. US President Joe Biden last week announced US Court of Appeals Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson as his nominee to the US Supreme Court. Jackson, if confirmed, would become the first black woman jurist to Supreme Court of United States of America. She did her law from Harvard Law School, where she was also editor of the prestigious Law Review. After graduating, she was selected to become a clerk for the US Supreme Court Judge Justice Stephen Breyer. And coincidentally, now she is going to replace Justice Stephen Breyer at the Supreme Court of US. So such a big achievement for mankind and women folk in particular. So that reminds me, on which day do we celebrate International Women's Day? Kindly answer in the comment section. Welcome Prachi, welcome Sashank, welcome Devanshu, welcome Harshvi, hello Charu, hello Shitij. Okay, first question for the day. On which date do we celebrate International Women's Day? Shitij Malhotra is the first one to respond. Arya, that's correct. Shitij, that's right. Ishan, that's correct. 8th March. So 8th March is celebrated as the International Women's Day. Okay, so follow-up question. Who among the following was the first woman to become Supreme Court judge in our country? So Justice Ketanji will become the first woman of color to join Supreme Court of USA. What about India? First women to join Indian bench at the apex court. Your options are Justice Leela Seth, Justice B.V. Nagaratna, Justice Fatima Bibi, Justice Aisha Malik. Justice Leela Seth, Justice B.V. Nagaratna, Justice Fatima Bibi, Justice Aisha Malik. Okay. Manas Ahuja says B, Shaurya says B, Mahak Bhardwaj says C, Shaurya says C, Manas says B, Harshvi will go with B, Prachi will go with A, Shaurya with C. So much of confusion. And rightly so. Yes, why? Because all these 4 women are achievers in their own way. So right answer for this one is option C, Justice Fatima Bibi. Justice Fatima Bibi was the first women Supreme Court judge of our country. Kindly note it down somewhere. It's a very important fact which all of you should be aware of. So what about Justice Leela Seth? So Justice Fatima Bibi was the first woman to become a Supreme Court judge in our country, and Justice Aisha Malik is also the first woman to become a Supreme Court judge, but not in India. So she became the first women Supreme Court judge of which nation? Follow-up question. Right answer for the question on screen is option C, Justice Fatima Bibi. Follow-up question is, what about Justice Aisha Malik? She became the first women Supreme Court judge of which nation? Sashank is the first one to respond. Then Brian, Shaurya, Sitij, Mehak. Correct answer is Pakistan. So Justice Aisha Malik became the first women Supreme Court judge of our beloved neighbor Pakistan. And Justice Fatima Bibi was the first woman to become a Supreme Court judge in our country. Okay, what about Justice Leela Seth? Justice Leela Seth was also a first. Justice Leela Seth was the first woman to become Chief Justice of any High Court in our country. The first women Chief Justice of High Court. So I told you that, so I will have to ask something different. So first women Chief Justice Leela Seth became Chief Justice of which High Court? You will have to dig deeper now. So Leela Seth किस state की Chief Justice बनी थी? Let's see if you guys can get this one right. Okay. Justice Fatima Bibi was the first woman to become Supreme Court judge in our country. Justice Aisha Malik achieved similar feat in our neighboring nation, Pakistan. Ishan says Delhi High Court. That's incorrect. She became a judge at Delhi High Court, but then she became the first Chief Justice of. She was a judge of Delhi High Court. Then she became Chief Justice of some neighboring state. If not Delhi, somewhere close to Delhi. Find out the right answer. I will move on to the next question. So who is going to become or is destined to become the first women Chief Justice of India? Bipasha gave the right answer. Right answer for the previous question is Himachal Pradesh. Kudos to you, Bipasha. So Justice Leela Seth, a Delhi High Court judge, was made Chief Justice of Himachal Pradesh High Court. So who is going to become India's first women Chief Justice? So we are not in the business of astrology. Then how can we predict the first women Chief Justice? Abhi tak to koi nahi hua hai. So how can we predict the future? Because one of these four is right now member of the Supreme Court bench. Her name is Justice B. V. Nagaratna. Justice B. V. Nagaratna is going to become the first women Chief Justice of India. Kindly note it down somewhere. Well, she comes from a privileged background. Her father was also a Chief Justice of India. So much for independence of judiciary. 130 करोड़ के देश में what a coincidence, एक एक्स चीफ जस्टिस ऑफ इंडिया की बेटी बनने जा रही हैं फर्स्ट वुमेन चीफ जस्टिस ऑफ इंडिया. ये तो कोइंसिडेंस की I will constrain my words. Acha, yes. Seniority. Yes, Harshada, that's right. Because in Supreme Court, seniority matters. So whenever the Chief Justice of India retires, the next senior most judge becomes the next Chief Justice of India. So, acha, one more research based question for you guys. Find out who is going to become the next Chief Justice of India. Who will become the next Chief Justice of India? You can find that answer by checking out the Supreme Court's website. You will find names of all the judges, their date of appointment and their date of retirement. So a Supreme Court judge retires at the age of, bonus question, what is the retirement age for the Supreme Court judges? What is the age of retirement for the Supreme Court judges in our country? Harshada Nirmal is the first one to respond, then Devanshi. Yes, Harshada, that's correct. Right answer is 65 years. Vaishnavi, that's incorrect. Trickiest, 68 is incorrect. Kshitij, 65 is the right answer. So normally people in government sector retire at the age of 60. So all your judges of the lower judiciary will retire when they turn 60. So 60 की एज पे सभी लोअर जुडिशरी के जजेस रिटायर हो जाते हैं. So till the post of session judge, you get promoted based on your seniority. But beyond that, if you want to join the High Court bench or Supreme Court, you need to be elevated to the High Court or Supreme Court by the collegium. So once somebody is elevated to the High Court, that person's service will get extended by another 2 years. So the age of retirement for High Court judges in our country is 62 years. So normally people retire at the age of 60, High Court judges will retire at the age of 62, and then again when some of them will be elevated to the apex court, to the Supreme Court of India, they will get another extension of 3 years. So age of retirement for the Supreme Court judges in our country is 65 years. Mahek says, I wanted to contact you, but I think I lost your number. It is available on the second slide of this presentation. You can just go back and check it out. Moving on. A piece of news from the international arena. Ukraine has approached the International Court of Justice against Russian Federation. So Ukraine has recently filed an application instituting a case against the Russian Federation before the ICJ. Why did they do that? So they have come up with a dispute concerning interpretation, application and fulfillment of the 1948 Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide, popularly known as the Genocide Convention of 1948. So they have approached the ICJ claiming that there is a dispute regarding interpretation, application and fulfillment of commitments mentioned in the Genocide Convention. They have two contentions. First one is that the Russian Federation has falsely claimed that the acts of genocide have occurred in Luhansk and Donetsk Oblast, commonly known as Donbas region of Ukraine. And on that ground, Russia has recognized two nations, DPK and LPK. And then, not just that, they implemented a special military operation against Ukraine to save the victims from Ukrainian genocide. Ukraine says that all these claims are baseless and false. And on the contrary, it is Russia that is planning acts of genocide in Ukraine. So Russia, as per Ukraine, is intentionally killing and inflicting serious injury on members of the Ukrainian nationality. So the actus reus of genocide under Article 2 of Genocide Convention shall be invoked. What is actus reus? Another bonus question. If you guys have studied criminal law, everybody should know the answer. What is actus reus? In order to constitute crime, you need two basic elements, actus reus and mens rea. What is actus reus? Criminal law nahi padha abhi tak. Anyways, Bipasha, Devanshi, Harshada, Shaurya. So actus reus is not action, actus reus is guilty action or guilty act or wrongful act. And mens rea means guilty mind. In order to commit a crime, you need two basic essentials, wrongful action and wrongful intention. So if any of these two is missing, no crime will take place. For example, if I'm thinking about killing Putin right now, like many Ukrainians, but I have no means or will to actually execute it, I'm just having thoughts that it should be done, will that make me a criminal? Morally might be yes, but legally no. So just thinking about committing a crime is not enough. Similarly, if you act without mens rea, your action will not bring criminal implications. So for example, I have a 2-year-old daughter. Whenever I pick her up, she starts slapping me. And I have warned her multiple times कि अगर अगली बार थप्पड़ मारा तो पुलिस में रिपोर्ट करा दूंगा और जेल होगी. Still I am getting beaten up on daily basis. Do I have any remedy? Answer would be no. So for a kid that young, even if she does something wrong, we will presume that the mens rea was lacking. Doli incapax, a person incapable of forming mens rea. In India, anyone who is under the age of 7 years is considered incapable of committing a crime or incapable of forming mens rea. So just like young kids, can you give me another example of Doli incapax? Any category of will not be considered capable of committing a crime. Let's see. Yes, people with unsound mind. non compos mentis. What is non compos mentis? People of unsound mind. Yes, mentally disabled, that's correct. Arya, that's right. Kshitij, that's right. Mahek, that's correct. Let's move on. So Ukraine has come up with two contentions. First one is that Russia is falsely using the ground of genocide to attack Ukraine. Russia has launched a special military operation against Ukraine, and they have also recognized two provinces of Ukraine to be independent nations, DPK and LPK, in Donbas region. In 2014, Russia had annexed another province of Ukraine called Crimea. And now Ukraine is alleging that it is Russia that is purporting, planning and executing a genocide on their land. Chaliye. So what is a genocide and what is the Genocide Convention? A brief information note about that. This convention is called the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of Crime of Genocide. The word genocide was for the very first time defined in this statute, in this convention. It was signed by many countries. Right now there are 150 plus members. It was adopted on the 9th of December 1948. So 9th December is also known as the Genocide Day. 9th December 1948 Genocide Convention was adopted and it came into force on 12th of Jan 1951. Well, Article 2 of the Genocide Convention, which we read on the previous slide, defines the crime of genocide. It says that genocide means a crime committed with the intent to destroy a national, ethnic, racial or religious group in whole or in part. If you look at the picture, somebody has merged two pics of Putin and Adolf Hitler. Hitler is, whenever we say genocide, the first picture which comes up in everybody's mind is that of Hitler. So Hitler committed crimes of genocide against certain groups. Can you name the victims? Genocide of which ethnic, religious or nationality was committed by Hitler? It is also known as Holocaust. Yes, Harshada, that's correct. So Hitler targeted many groups and one of the victim groups were Jews. Okay. Almaz, that's correct. Prachi, that's right. Chaliye. So Article 2 has defined genocide. This this convention was adopted in 1948 on 9th of December, Genocide Day. It is a convention which tries to prevent the crime of genocide, and it also puts a responsibility of the member states to make sure that anyone who commits any such act shall not have impunity. Impunity means the nation is not getting punished for the wrongdoings. Genocide Convention. A bit about ICJ. What is ICJ? It is the principal judicial organ of the United Nations. United Nations has 6 principal organs. There are 6 principal organs. Can anyone name all 6 principal organs of the UN? UN के 6 principal organs का नाम बताइए जल्दी से. So United Nations का नाम आते, couple of organs we already all know. Everybody knows about the Security Council, which failed to provide security to the innocent Ukrainians. Any other any other organ of the UN that you know? The Security Council, General Assembly, that is also there. UNESCO is incorrect answer. Shaurya? नहीं, ठीक है, चल जाएगा. UNESCO is right. So UNHRC is incorrect, Prachi. So Human Rights Commission नहीं count होता है यहाँ पे. We have the General Assembly. We have Security Council. General Assembly is like the World Parliament. All member states have a representative in General Assembly. Then you have the Bahubal of UN, Security Council, with 5 permanent members and 10 elected members. Then you have the Office of Secretary General. Who is the current Secretary General of United Nations? Secretariat, that's correct. Then we also have Economic and Social Council, and we have the Trusteeship Council. और इन सब के बाद 6th organ बचता है ICJ. ICJ is the judicial wing. So if member states have any dispute, they may bring it before the ICJ to get it resolved. So 5 principal organs have their headquarters in New York City, US, except ICJ. ICJ is located at Dash, and the building that you see in the picture is known as Dash. Antonio Guterres is the right answer, Vaishnavi. Arya, that's correct. Mahak, okay. So where is ICJ located, and what is the name of this building that you can see on your slide, on your screen? What is this building known as or called? ICC and ICJ are both in the same city. ICJ, International Court of Justice, and ICC, not International Cricket Council, International Criminal Court. ICC, International Criminal Court. Okay, correct answer is Hague, Netherlands. That's correct. What is the name of this building? What is this building called? World Court? Nope. The Hague is right answer, but what is the name of this building? What is it called? It is called the Peace Palace. The Peace Palace in Hague. Chaliye, so the Peace Palace, Shanti ka Mahal in Hague, Netherlands. So after the World War I, League of Nations was formed, and PCIJ, Permanent Court of International Justice, was established as the principal organ for deciding upon international disputes by the League of Nations. And this body, PCIJ, Permanent Court of International Justice, was located at Peace Palace, Hague, Netherlands. League of Nations, as we all know, was dissolved, and later on it was succeeded by the UN, United Nations. On which date was the United Nations formed? Bonus question. UN kab bana tha? On which date was the United Nations formed? Find that answer. Meanwhile, I will move on. So what is the need of having International Court of Justice? So primarily this court settles all disputes that may rise among countries in accordance with the principles of international law. Legal disputes submitted to it by the states will be settled by ICJ. This is something that all of you should know. Anshika responded, okay, Vaishnavi says UN was formed on 24th October 1945. Ishant says 24th October 1945. That's correct answer. And there were 50 founder members of UN. There were 50 founder members जिन्होंने UN को बनाया था. Was India in that list? Was India also part of? Or was India also among the first 50 founder members? 1945 की हम बात कर रहे हैं. India as a nation got its independence in 1947, but still answer is yes, India was a founder member. India did participate in, technically yes, Kshitij says technically yes, but as a colony, correct. So we did participate as founder member, but at that point of time we were not independent. Chale, so 1945, 24th October, UN was established. Coming back to where we are. So ICJ is needed to settle all the disputes that crop up between member nations in accordance with the principles of international law. ICJ can only hear those disputes which are submitted to it by states. ICJ also gives advisory opinion, like Supreme Court of India can give advisory opinion to the President. President can seek advisory opinion from the Supreme Court. Similarly, ICJ can give advisory opinion to the United Nations and all its specialized agencies. So if they want to get clarity on any international principle, they can seek advice from the ICJ. Official languages of ICJ are English and French. Okay. Jurisdiction is the bone of contention between Ukraine and Russia right now. So ICJ का jurisdiction आपको पता होना चाहिए. So all member nations of UN automatically become member of ICJ statute. But this does not mean that they have given jurisdiction to ICJ. Jurisdiction means power to adjudicate over a particular dispute. ICJ does not have suo motu jurisdiction. Unlike Supreme Court of India. Supreme Court कई बार खुद से matters को अपने पास institute कर लेता है. But ICJ lacks that power. It cannot take up matters on its own. Only when countries want that their dispute shall be settled by ICJ, they will submit it before the ICJ. For example, if India Pakistan want to take Kashmir issue to the ICJ, they may. But ICJ is not bound by its own previous decisions. So doctrine of precedent आप लोगों ने पढ़ा होगा constitutional law में. In India, we follow doctrine of precedence. Precedent means previous order which is of a binding nature. So precedent का मतलब होता है नज़ीर या binding example. All previously decided cases will have a binding effect on future similar cases. ICJ में ऐसा नहीं होता है, इसलिए countries are scared that if they submit their dispute before ICJ, might be ICJ will give its answer based on international commitments और geopolitics. चलिए ICJ का सबसे बड़ा प्रॉब्लम यही है, judgment of ICJ is final and technically binding. Problem is that it has no way to ensure compliance of its orders. There are 15 judges in ICJ. They are elected for a term of 9 years. Every third year, 5 of them will retire, 1/3 will retire, and a new batch of 5 judges will be appointed. Can you name any Indian judge of ICJ? Is anybody from India among these 15 people who are right now listening to Ukraine's plea? Okay, chaliye. So far, only 4 Indians have achieved that feat. Even right now, we have our judge at ICJ. His name is Justice Dalbir Bhandari. Justice Dalbir Bhandari was earlier a Supreme Court judge. After retirement, he joined International Court of Justice. This is his second tenure. So since 2012, this guy has been serving at ICJ. Prior to him, Chief Justice of India, R.S. Pathak, also served at ICJ 1989 से 1991 तक. Then Chief Election Commissioner of India, Nagendra Singh, also served at ICJ from 1973 to 1988. Or Sir Benegal Rao or B.N. Rao, who was advisor to the Constituent Assembly, was a member of ICJ from 1952 to 53. So these are 4 important people. Justice Dalbir Bhandari, currently member of ICJ. Ex-Chief Justice R.S. Pathak, ex-Chief Election Commissioner Nagendra Singh, and Sir Benegal Rao. Acha, bonus question. So there are 15 judges. One of them is obviously chairman or the Chief Justice. Has anyone from India ever chaired ICJ? So क्या किसी Indian judge को कभी chairmanship मिला है ICJ का? Research based question. Your options are, answer is yes, and your options are Dalbir Bhandari, R.S. Pathak, Nagendra Singh, or Benegal Rao. 25% chance even if you take a guess. So far only one Indian was the chairman of ICJ. उनका नाम आपको पता होना चाहिए. Justice Dalbir Bhandari, R.S. Pathak, Nagendra Singh या Benegal Rao. Okay, so सारे options आ गए. Mahek says Dalbir Bhandari, Kshitij says R.S. Pathak, Prachi says Rao, Mahek says Dalbir Bhandari. Okay, चलिए. तो आप सबने मिलके गलत जवाब दिया है. Correct answer is Nagendra Singh. So it was Nagendra Singh who became chairman of International Court of Justice. Okay. अच्छा चलिए, another bonus question from the screen. Who created the first draft of Indian Constitution? Who created the first draft of Indian Constitution? Who created the first draft of Indian Constitution? Yes, trickiest, your answer is correct. But it appeared on my screen after others had answered. Kshitij says B.R. Ambedkar, that's incorrect. B.R. Ambedkar gave the final draft. Baba Saheb Ambedkar ने final draft बनाया था, not the first draft. Another question from past CLAT paper. So who created the first draft of Indian Constitution? Yeah, that's incorrect. Not B.R. Ambedkar. Baba Saheb Ambedkar created the final draft. So final draft तो Baba Saheb Ambedkar ने बनाया. पहला draft किसने बनाया था? Answer is on your screen. His name was B.N. Rao. So it was B.N. Rao who then became constitutional advisor to the drafting committee. Constitutional advisor to the drafting committee. Chaliye, so moving on with the current news. So Ukraine approached ICJ I told you ICJ does not have suo motu jurisdiction. वो खुद से cases नहीं ले सकता. Countries को खुद submit करना पड़ता है. If Ukraine is saying that I want to take this matter to ICJ, will Russia agree to it? Answer is no. But Ukraine says that they have found jurisdiction of ICJ based on Article 36, Paragraph 1 of the ICJ Statute and Article 9 of the Genocide Convention. And both parties, Russia as well as Ukraine, are signatory to the Genocide Convention of 1948. So how does it work? Article 36, Paragraph 1 of ICJ Statute says, it talks about contentious jurisdiction. When both parties submit a matter before ICJ, there is no problem regarding jurisdiction. Both have agreed. If UN or its specialized agency is seeking advice from the ICJ, again there is no dispute. But when only one party approaches ICJ regarding any international dispute or bilateral dispute, the other party will generally say no. So how does that work? So contentious jurisdiction of ICJ. Article 36 says that jurisdiction of court comprises all cases which parties refer to it. It also provides that jurisdiction of the court comprises all matters specially provided for in treaties and conventions in force. So अगर आप ICJ के member नहीं भी हैं, अगर आप फिर भी ICJ का jurisdiction मानना चाहते हैं, accept करना चाहते हैं, you are free to do that. Along with that, ICJ can also extend its jurisdiction with respect to certain treaties and conventions जो enforced है. So ऐसी ही एक treaty है Genocide Convention. If you read Article 9 of Genocide Convention, it says that any dispute between contracting parties means parties which signed and ratified Genocide Convention of 1948. So any dispute between these parties, these countries, relating to the interpretation, application and fulfillment of Genocide Convention, including those relating to responsibility of state for genocide or for any of the other acts enumerated in Article 3, shall be submitted to the ICJ at the request of any of the parties. Not both parties, but any of the parties. तो अगर दोनों countries Genocide Convention की member हैं, and there's a dispute regarding interpretation, application and fulfillment of this convention related to genocide, then any party can approach ICJ. So if I take you to the previous slide, the first slide related to this issue, now read what does the application says. It is the dispute concerning relating to interpretation, application and fulfillment of 1948 convention. So Russia का claim बहुत simple है, Ukraine का claim बहुत simple है that we are both parties to genocide convention. Russia is committing genocide on our land, and therefore ICJ has jurisdiction even if only one party approaches ICJ. So what happened at the ICJ? A bit about that. Now you know how ICJ has the jurisdiction. So oral arguments were conducted. These were heard by a bench of 15 judges. As I said earlier, there are 15 judges at ICJ, and Justice Dalveer Bhandari is also among those 15. And the current president of ICJ is Judge John E. Donegal. So Donegal, I don't know how to pronounce that. I hope you guys know it better. So the current president of ICJ stated that although we notified Russia to come and argue, but their representative at ICJ rejected this offer. Their representative, Alexander Shulgin, told ICJ that his government, Russian government, did not intend to participate in the proceedings. So it is a controversy which I predicted. एक country बोलेगा ICJ के पास power है, jurisdiction है और हमें matter ICJ ले जाना है. Generally जो पिट रहा होता है, somebody who is getting beaten up, the victim, and the other party will say no, ICJ does not have jurisdiction, so they can't hear this matter. So right now Russia has ignored these proceedings. After listening to all these arguments, ICJ has observed that it will pass orders on the question of provisional measures. So इमीडिएटली अभी कुछ दिनों में आईसीजे का एक जजमेंट आएगा, ऑर्डर आएगा, जिसमें उन्होंने कुछ सजेशंस दिए होंगे, कुछ रिकमेंडेशंस दिए होंगे, कुछ ऑर्डर्स होंगे. बट द प्रॉब्लम इज दैट हाउ विल आईसीजे गेट इट एनफोर्स्ड? आईसीजे के पास अपनी आर्मी तो नहीं है. जजमेंट आ भी गया तो यूक्रेन क्या फायदा करेगा उस पेपर डॉक्यूमेंट का? देयर इज वन ऑप्शन. ICJ, because it is permanent organ or principal organ of UN, ICJ's judgment is final and binding even in contentious jurisdiction. There are no appeals against ICJ's verdict, and member nations can approach Security Council of the UN to get it implemented. So armed wing या powerful wing UN का होता है Security Council. So Ukraine, after getting these orders, will again go to the United Nations Security Council and tell them, please get it implemented. Russia is not listening to us. अच्छा, Security Council में how many members are there, guys? How many members are there? So structure of Security Council, 10 plus 5. Correct. So there are 5 permanent members. Sure, yeah, that's right. After looking at this decision or this opinion of the ICJ, Putin got shocked, but no need to worry. Will Russia buzz? Answer is no. Why? Because Russia is one of the 5 permanent members of the United Nations Security Council. Even if Ukraine approaches Security Council with the judgment or verdict of the ICJ, Russia will simply veto it. Veto is the power of negative voting, which has been given to 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council. Can you name all 5 permanent members? Can you name all 5 permanent members of the UN? Right? So veto powers generally misuse their power. और सबसे ज्यादा एग्जाम्पल मिसयूज की अगर कोई आपको दे पाता है तो वो है सबका प्यारा देश यूएसए. So in the case of Republic of Nicaragua versus United States of America, ICJ had decided in favor of Nicaragua and had awarded reparations to Nicaragua. So US was supposed to pay damages to Nicaragua. When Nicaragua approached United Nations Security Council, USA refused to participate in the proceeding, and later on they blocked the enforcement of judgment by applying veto. Okay, 5 permanent members of United Nations. Shaurya says US, UK, France, Russia, China. France, UK, US, Russia, China. चलिए बहुत अच्छी बात है. Bonus question. UN was formed on 24th October 1945. आप लोग बता चुके हैं. India was one of the founder members. It was among the first 50. अच्छा ये बताइए UN Charter पे सबसे पहला सिग्नेचर किस कंट्री ने किया? The first country to sign UN Charter. Bonus question. First country to sign UN Charter. Which country was the first nation to sign UN Charter? So if you Google UN Charter, go through the text document, you will see there's a list of signatories. The first country to sign UN Charter, Kshitij says China, and Kshitij, that's the right answer. Aditya Bajoy, that's correct answer. No, not France, Mehak. Why China? Because it was the first country to be invaded in the Second World War. So first country to be invaded in Second World War. Second World War से पहले League of Nations था. World War II हुआ तो we realized League of Nations is useless. For example, right now we are realizing that United Nations is useless. It is doing almost next to nothing. So if this conflict escalates and turns into World War III, there are chances that UN will be abandoned and a new organization will come up later on with new permanent members. And in that case, might be Ukraine, if it survives, will become the first member nation to sign it. Just a prediction. Chaliye, let's move on. Okay. Now something related to India. In rare human conditions in 1382 prisons versus state of Assam and others. Recently, application was filed before the Supreme Court by the Union government. They wanted Supreme Court to give directions to the Committee on Prison Reforms, which was set up by the Supreme Court, to expedite their work. So, before we get into this, let me give you a brief history. COVID-19 की शुरुआती दिनों में फर्स्ट फेज आते ही, the first lockdown, dark era. Okay. So when first lockdown was imposed, Supreme Court passed an order in a similar matter, and they said that we need to decongest our prisons. And because COVID was spreading rapidly, we decided that we will decongest prisons, and many prisoners were given or granted bail, and some were granted parole because of the uncontrolled surge of COVID cases. Court at that time ordered decongestion so that even right to life and health of these prisoners can be protected. At that time, Supreme Court emphasized or gave importance to another judgment called Arnesh Kumar versus State of Bihar. In Arnesh Kumar versus State of Bihar, it was decided, it was declared by the Supreme Court that police should not unnecessarily arrest people, especially in the cases where jail term is less than 7 years. So अर्णेश कुमार में कहा गया था अगर जेल टर्म ही 7 years से ज्यादा नहीं है तो आप जबरदस्ती अरेस्ट मत करिए. Try to avoid it as much as possible because we say bail is the rule, jail is an exception. Bail is the rule, jail is an exception in our country. In 2017, a law commission report was tabled and it also recommended something similar. Law commission suggested that all the under trial prisoners, if they have completed 1/3 of their maximum sentence and the punishment is not above 7 years, it's not more than 7 years, then all such people shall be granted bail. Nice. Chaliye. So at that point of time, Supreme Court also constituted a committee on prison reforms. It was headed by retired Supreme Court Judge Amitava Roy. So Amitava Roy, an important name for this year, is heading Prison Reforms Committee. This committee was given task to prepare a report. They were told to submit multiple submissions or reports on timely basis. Within 3 months, they were expected to submit reports on 3 key pointers, and then in next 12 months, that means within a year, they were supposed to complete the entire task. But recently Supreme Court Union government has approached with an application saying that Amitava Rao is not doing his job. Attorney General of India K.K. Venugopal informed the bench of Justice Nageshwar Rao and B.R. Gavai that prisons fall under state list of the 7th schedule as entry 4 of list 2, and therefore it should have been left to the state governments to reform prisons in India. Still, Supreme Court decided to constitute this committee. This committee was given a time period of 12 months, and now 3 years and 5 months have already passed and no progress, no substantial progress have been made. And therefore either this committee should complete its work within next 3 months or it shall be dissolved, or let the state governments decide what to do with their prisons. Amicus curiae and parties representing Amitava Roy defended the position of Amitava Roy, stating that it is very difficult to prepare a report like this. India is such a huge nation with 1382 prisons to survey and to find out problems as well as solutions. Amitava Roy had, so what happened now is that Supreme Court has given them finally 6 months to complete the work and come up with the final report. I will show you some of the suggestions made by Amitava Roy regarding major problems related to Indian prison system. Can you guys meanwhile suggest me what are the major problems that Indian prison system has or is, what are the flaws of Indian prison system? क्या परेशानियां होंगी भारतीय जेलों में? मुझे पता है आप लोग जेल नहीं गए बट फिर भी गेस कर सकते हैं, मूवीज तो देखी होंगी. शौर्य से ऐसे ही कहते कहते प्रेडिक्शन सच हो जाते हैं. सो देखिए मैंने ऐसे कर रखा था, माई फिंगर्स वर क्रॉस्ड, ऐसा नहीं होगा, डोंट वरी. नो वर्ल्ड वॉर 3, हमें जाना है कॉलेज. Shashank says, what are your thoughts at Rajiv Gandhi's assassin being granted parole? Concentration, overcrowding. Harshada, yes, that's correct. Overcrowding is an issue not just in prison, everywhere in a country. If you are from Mumbai और कभी लोकल में ट्रेवल किया तो आपको पता होगा what is overcrowding. Crowded का मतलब ही भीड़ होता है. ये overcrowded is a word which only Indians use. So crowd तो भीड़ है. Overcrowd का मतलब क्या है? Okay, unhealthy living conditions, Mahek, that's correct. Bad living condition, Ishan, that's right. Unhygienic conditions, ठीक है, वही बात है. शौर्य से जाना है, okay. Sanitation, crowding, medical issue, yes, these are some of the key issues. So, Amitava Roy ने कुछ suggestions भी दिए थे. Overcrowding is number 1 issue. The Prison Statistic India 2016 published by National Crime Records Bureau, NCRB. 2019 में they came up with a report. उन्होंने highlight किया that the end of 2016 there were 4,33,033 people in prison and 68% were under trials. Who is an under trial prisoner? Somebody whose guilt has not been determined. A person who is still facing charges, who is still facing a trial, जिसका केस अभी चल रहा है, पेंडिंग है. ऐसे लोग बेल नहीं मिलता तो जेल में होते हैं. जब हम कह रहे हैं कि बेल इज द रूल एंड जेल इज एन एक्सेप्शन, देन हाउ कम 68% people in jails are under trial prisoner. Solution is, there are many solutions that he recommended. The best one which I think is spreading awareness about section 436A of CRPC. What is CRPC? Code of Criminal Procedure. So criminal trial के process को define करता है, describe करता है CRPC, which is a procedural law of a nation for criminal cases. Section 436A says that if you have already served half of the sentence available for your crime that you have committed. For example, let's say for any particular crime, maximum jail term is 10 years. And a person has served 5 years as under trial prisoner, then that person will automatically become eligible for bail. So anyone who has already served 50% of jail term and is an under trial prisoner, हमें नहीं पता है उसने क्राइम किया है कि नहीं, जज बताएगा कंक्लूजन ऑफ ट्रायल पे, तो ऐसे इंसान को जेल में रखे रखना इज स्टूपिडिटी. सो इफ दे फाइल एन एप्लीकेशन दे विल गेट अ बेल. बट इंडियन जुडिशरी का प्रॉब्लम है, तारीख पे तारीख मिलती है जज साहब, इंसाफ नहीं मिलता. एंड बिकॉज ऑफ दैट, बिकॉज ऑफ पेंडेंसी ऑफ केसेस, बिकॉज ऑफ एन नंबर ऑफ एडजर्नमेंट्स, मैनी पीपल आर suffering in jails without getting proper hearing. So section 436A should be applied immediately and everybody should be made aware of the rights that they have. Okay. Another problem is understaffing and underfunding, financial issues, and we don't have qualified people at every stage. For example, there should be at least one lawyer for every 30 prisoners. In India, we do have free legal aid, right, to be represented by a legal practitioner of your choice. And if you can't afford one, government is responsible to provide you one. So there should be at least one lawyer for every 30 prisoners, but that is not the case in a country right now. What is the solution? Supreme Court should pass a direction asking authorities to start the recruitment process against permanent vacancies within 3 months, and the process should be completed in a year. जल्दी से जल्दी vacant seats को भरिए, unemployment का भी issue थोड़ा कम होगा और ये प्रॉब्लम्स भी सॉल्व होंगी. हमारी जुडिशरी में वैकेंसीज हैं, हमारे जेल सिस्टम में वैकेंसीज हैं, हमारे एपीओज और एपीपीज में वैकेंसीज हैं, तो भर क्यों नहीं रहे हैं? क्योंकि अगर भर ली वैकेंसीज, इफ वी फिल अप वैकेंसीज देन वी हैव टू स्टार्ट पेइंग सैलरीज, and ultimately it's all about money bhai. So another problem is unnatural deaths and violent clashes. It is also unhygienic. So rate of suicide among prisoners also increased by 28%. That is from 77 suicides in 2015 to 102 in 2016. What is the solution? NHRC, National Human Rights Commission, in 2014 stated that on an average, a person is 1.5 times more likely to commit suicide in jail than outside. Only 1.5 times ज़्यादा है, बहुत ज़्यादा नहीं. So this is a possible indicator of the magnitude of mental health concerns within Indian prisons. So committee says that we need to appoint more mental health experts at our central jails and other jails of our country. So there are many solutions, many problems, but when the final report comes up, we will discuss that at length. For today, this is all I wanted to discuss with you guys. In order to start your preparation, join a demo class. You can join the Zero Free program. If you want to have a one-to-one counseling session, get in touch with your mentors. Hit the like button if you like what we are doing here. It will not cost you anything and we will get appreciated for the effort that we are putting in. I hope your preparation is going well. If you guys are facing any issue, get in touch with your center. They will get it resolved. And some of you will be worried about your board exam. So all the best. Date sheet is out. अगर आप लोग 12th में हैं तो all the best guys. Try to balance your preparation. CLAT committee might postpone your exam, but we can't say anything till the official notification communication is out. So जब तक CLAT नहीं बताएगा हम नहीं बोलेंगे. Thank you so much guys. We'll meet again. Bye. If you want me to cover any particular topic in the next session, we have a GK session tomorrow. You can leave a comment after this live stream ends, not during the live stream, after the live stream, so that I can read it later on and make sure that I include that portion in my upcoming class. Bye guys.